article from Forbes about how like it's called like how F1 turned Brad Pitt into a $40 million ad. And there is some, I guess you would say, like, I don't even know if you would call them ethical, but there's some narrative issues here, like the fact that this movie is a collaborative effort between Warner Brothers and the FIA, which is the governing body of Formula One. So
Oh.
this is
And I
really,
guess Apple too, right? I mean,
yeah, Apple's part distributor on this too.
yeah.
All right.
Um,
Well, you know what? I don't know if I saw any articles talking about the collaboration between movie studios and the American military industrial complex for Top Gun Maverick and the first Top Gun and every other
oh, they were
movie that
there.
involves the American military.
Oh, they were there. Oh, for
Okay,
sure.
good,
Oh
good.
no, I'm not. I'm not. I'm
I
splitting
know.
hairs
I'm
to a
just
degree.
poking fun.
More so though. You're right though, but more so. Formula One's governing bodies all over this movie. This movie's an unmistakable ad for F1, but it's also an ad for, just run down the list: Qatar Airways, Geico, EA Sports, Shark Ninja, AMG, OMP Racing, Xperify, and others. This movie was like funded in good part by product placement, which I just think is funny. And like, now I don't know what kind of a boost, and I don't know if you can quantify this. Corporations always find a way, but I always, on a side note, because they're wearing their F1 suits and they're like NASCAR suits. They have all the sponsors on them and stuff. I always wondered what the return on that is. It's got to be good because they keep doing it. These companies wouldn't throw money if it wasn't effective. But I've always just wondered, like, can Shark Ninja quantify what their benefit is having Brad Pitt rock their logo in a movie like this? I don't know. You know what I mean? So that's just one thing that like crossed my mind over the course of this very long 2.5 hour movie. But at any rate, though, uh, this would, I think, more be an issue if the movie itself wasn't so good. And I think that's ultimately what you want when you see a movie like this: is you want it to be entertaining despite being advertised to. And I think F1
Oh, it
succeeds.
sucks. Yeah, there's some corruption going. Oh, it's good. Well, yeah.
I mean, it draws attention to shit like that when it's bad. Like Mac and Me, like go back to Mac and Me, the famous ET ripoff. You read the critiques of that movie now and you read the commentary, it's all about fucking McDonald's because McDonald's is all over that movie. If they ate Big Macs and ET, ain't nobody saying shit. Like,
Yep.
you know what I mean? It becomes more of a talking point if the movie sucks. But that being said, though, this I had a friend call this the more zen version of Top Gun Maverick, and I think that's a really accurate point, because it feels a lot like Top Gun Maverick, but it's a lot calmer. It's a lot, the racing sequences. Even, I don't know. There's something in a way too, like, exciting yet a little bit tranquil about racing because it's kind of repetitive and it's the same kind of motions over and over again as a spectator. And this movie too, like, is really anchored in large part by Brad Pitt. And there's quite a few decent performances in this movie too, but obviously Brad Pitt's at the center. 61 years old, ages in reverse a lot like Tom Cruise. He's mastered the art of looking like equally attractive and stoic on screen, and I think that helps a lot too. I think it's in a multi-layered, visually pretty movie in so many different words. And I think that there's a lot here though that is very entertaining. What you want from a summer blockbuster, and doesn't get in its own way in terms of just being a little bit either heady or a little bit too like simple-minded in so many regards. So that's kind of how I'll start it off. What say you, Dominic?
I've always seen Formula One as the more finesse of the two racing types. I know there's a lot, but there's the big ones are F1 and NASCAR, at least in the American consciousness, right? And I've always seen F1 as the more finesse because they're tracks. They twist, they turn, they do all these really cool things. NASCAR is more of the, how do we say, the long distance. and online. It's Sleepless with Steve and the Movie Book Club with your host, Steve Pulaski.
Back and better than ever, it is Sleepless with Steve live on YouTube. We come to you live and in living color every Wednesday evening, 6:30 Central Time, in the thick of July. A very stormy month here in the Midwest, to say the very least. Another tornado watch I think we're under right now at present. It hasn't been too bad out here, though. It's really just gloomy and shitty, and hot. Other than that, though, I was really looking forward to the opportunity of talking about the movie that we're going to be talking about tonight. This is a very low-key release. This movie is available on premium video on-demand outlets like Fandango at Home, the artist formerly known as Vudu, Amazon Prime, YouTube, and things like that. It got a very, very small release in theaters, and I'm glad it's widely available now, though, at least for a rental. But it's a movie called Ephus, and it's very fitting, too. I did not plan it like this. I told you guys about it when I watched it about 2 months ago? Yeah, like not even, like a month and a half ago. And basically, though, I went ahead and was like, told you guys about it. And I said, let's review this during like the dog days of summer of baseball. And we bumped it up on the schedule to this week. And I think it's fitting because the MLB All-Star game was yesterday, too. So I think it's very germane. I had it on in the background. It was actually I was watching it tangentially. It was like a 6-0 blowout, and then they came back and tied it up, and then they had this weird swing off thing at the end. It was kind of cool. I'm not a big baseball fan, though. I'm really not. There's a quote in this movie that is my exact feelings on baseball that I would love to share, but made you guys watch it. I'm excited for your takes on it. Again, it's a movie called Ephus. I'll explain the title significance here in just a little bit. But moreover, we got Joe Viso, we got Dominic Guanzon in front of their respective microphones today. Gentlemen, how are we? Joe, start with you.
I'm doing okay. I had a very, very exhausting weekend, man. And I had one of those weekends where you plan to do so much around the house. You only get about a third of it done because, unfortunately, you have other plans with family. And it just kind of butted in, and then, like, I'm just like, crap, now I have to dedicate a whole nother weekend to actually finishing up everything. And then right when I was like, okay, I think I got a new plan, boom, another invite to a cousin's birthday party the following weekend, because, you know, I'm just like, oh my god, man, Italian families, why we have to be so fucking big? Love my family, don't get me wrong, but it was just like, dude, legit, I'm like, I gotta get some stuff done around this house. I gotta get stuff done in my room. I need to reformat a couple things. I wish I could just have like a whole Saturday just to get that done, but nonetheless, I'm doing fine. This is very busy with just family and like just personal stuff. Not even work right now. Work is like, don't get me wrong, work is busy, but like definitely the family stuff is taking hold right now.
I was going to say, every Tommy DeVito, Nicky Palumbo, Joe Bagadona celebrating a graduation in your family, I take it.
Yeah, it feels like that. This Saturday was my cousin's birthday party and his graduation party rolled into one. So that means, you know, his graduation was early on in the year too. So it was like I had to deal with that and everything. And then a lot of my cousins were born in the summer. So I have there's at least 4 to 5 weekends during the summer of June, July, and May that I have to dedicate to just like keeping it available for family, because it's like more than likely they're going to want to do something. And, you know, with all of them being in school around the same time too, like 2 of them are in high school right now, 2 of them are in middle school, one's about to go into middle school. There's going to be a point where it's going to be graduation, like just high school, college. It's going to be like, oh my God.
It's all gonna convalesce.
Yeah,
and all be on top of each other, though.
Oh,
at least you
yeah.
get to see the family. At least, hopefully, get your stuff done.
Yeah. At the very end of the day, like, you know, yeah, there's family members I butt heads with, but at the end of the day, I do love seeing my cousins and just talking about stuff with them, because I never had cousins growing up. So even though I'm almost 30 and they're 15, 16 years old, surprisingly, my lingo and everything, I probably dated myself by saying that, I still sound young enough when I talk to them. I get memes enough that it's just like, they find it cool to hang out with me and talk to me about stuff.
That's cool. And then they probably talk about like like I don't know, like Skibbity Toilet or whatever the hell the Gen Alpha
Oh
is
yeah,
up to
yeah, yeah,
these
dude.
days.
Then the chicken jockey meme was like an all-time high with them, and I'm like, well, I know what it is, but like I just don't get it.
So I saw at a Walgreens they had like these Skibbity Toilet figures, and I'm like, I gotta figure out what this is. And then I'm like, yeah, I really didn't need to. I really didn't need to. Dom, how are you?
All that is just Gmod models in a toilet. That's all that is.
And,
That's
and
insane to me.
and humanoids with like televisions for heads and shit like that. It's very strange.
I'm doing fine. Yeah, it's the summer goes by fast, man.
It's true.
Dude, yeah.
Not even counting June. June is technically not summer uh, for like 90% of it, and that's insane to me. But that's all right because I'm gonna try and make the most of it. So it's that in between time too, where it's like work is busy during summer as well. So it's like making time for two things that I like, which is well, not work, but rather more so like making room for two different things, one of which I like going out to the city. That can be a little difficult, but that's okay because in the meantime, between time, we've got Sleepless with Steve.
Yes, indeed. That we do. And I'm grateful you guys make the time and everything, even as our lives have gotten incredibly busy. Remember, we revived this show and we had nothing better to do.
Yeah.
Now we've kept it going into year 5, shockingly. More than double the length of the radio show's lifespan, too, which I just find very funny and just crazy how time passes. But half a decade we've been going back with this now. It's pretty crazy. We will continue, though, talk about EFIS. I'm excited to dive into this movie. So what I did was I found myself, interestingly, while watching this thing, like having my laptop open about like 20 minutes in. I already had it open, but I had it on, and then I started just like rewinding and like transcribing quotes from this movie because there's so many one-liners in this thing. So I have a few of my favorites that I will share throughout the show because in my review, stevepulaski.com, in my review, every I think 3 paragraphs I do 3 quotes, 2 or 3 quotes from the movie because there's so many great liners in this movie. The basic gist of this movie, it's set in New England. And it's essentially a movie about like in the 90s this recreational baseball team. It's like it's like 2 businesses. They're like rival businesses and they have a bunch of old timers on there. This is like 50 plus. And they go to this like community ball field and play baseball. And it's the last game they're going to be able to play at this field before it gets bulldozed and they're going to build a school on top of it. This is the directorial debut of a man named Carson Lund. I was trying to look him up earlier back when I reviewed this movie. I was trying to see if he played baseball. I don't think he did. Because there's a lot of these movies I've noticed, especially when it comes to indie baseball movies. There's a movie called Giants Being Lonely, I think it is. That was a baseball movie. That was directed by a former minor leaguer. There's something about baseball movies. I feel like of all the sports, they're probably the most economical to make on a shoestring budget. And you often see a lot of the connections, with former players and stuff like that too. This was though directed and co-written by Carson Lund, his first film. Michael Basta and Nate Fisher are the other 2 co-writers on this. A couple of noteworthy names in this movie, especially for sports fans too. You have Bill Spaceman Lee, who was a former lefty pitcher. He played for the Red Sox and he played for the Expos too. Still my dad's favorite team, the non-existent Montreal Expos. And you also have Keith William Richards, who you might remember from Uncut Gems. And then you have Frederick Wiseman, who I'm so glad is still with us. I know that's a weird thing to say, but the 95-year-old documentary filmmaker is in this thing. And he doesn't do a lot of like narrative movies, especially acting. He's popped up a lot recently, though, in some random projects, and he's in this too. I think he's probably the great on the Mount Rushmore of the greatest documentary filmmakers of all time, right up there with Errol Morris. But this is an interesting little movie, and I laughed my ass off throughout it. And there's a sadness in this movie, too, though. It's a very poignant picture. I'm really curious to hear what you guys got to say about it. Dom, I'll start with you.
Yeah, there's a special kind of speed to this movie, and not even so much pacing, just the lethargy that comes from baseball. Specifically, like very amateur baseball, like
Drunk
true
league
local
baseball.
shit, right?
Drunk league baseball, yes.
Yeah, pretty much the amount of beer cans that they throw on the ground on this one. And it's captured beautifully. Like I cannot be overstated enough. It's not a boomer movie, but it's like it's got that. It's very. I know it's set in New England, but it feels very Midwestern to me. I
It does.
connected with that aspect to it, even if it's not. It feels so Midwestern, and it 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 took me back to even though I never played a lick of baseball in my life. It's just too slow. I'm so sorry. I've never played a lick of it in my life. I don't even know if I've ever sat through a game in person, at least in full. But just nights, summer, or even fall, afternoons that turn into evenings that turn into nights, hanging out with friends, slow dog days. That is the essence. That is the at least the atmosphere of this movie. And the lackadaisical way it just meanders through the game, for them it's a slog. But for the viewing experience, it's a really, really cool and unique capture of like the impending, not doom, but the impending end of
Yeah.
this chapter in this truly, like, in the grand scheme of the human spirit, completely insignificant chapter, right? No one cares about these teams. No one cares about this field. No one cares about these dudes, except not even their spouses, not even their kids. No one.
Nobody, none of the family members are in attendance.
It is it, briefly they are, and then they leave once it gets a little cold.
That's probably my favorite scene in this whole movie.
Yeah.
It's which brings me to my first quote. It's cold out when the bench player comes in. It's cold out here. It's warmer in the dugout.
And like, I'll just pass it to Joe by saying that there is a gallant stubbornness that emanates from this film, and then an inevitability of just the passage of time. And it is so to capture that in such a beautiful way. It's beautiful. It truly is. And I'm so happy that we get to see it here in this movie.
What say you, Joe?
I echo a lot of what Dom said, but I'll add a little bit of a new perspective. As somebody who plays in adult recreation leagues, dude, this film is accurate as hell, man. I mean, it gets it down to a T of what drives people to do this, and it's not even the game itself, dude. It's the community. At the end of the day, it's the community, and this movie sells that 100%. It's the people in your dugout. It's the rival team that's been in this league as long as you have. And you have had a rivalry this entire time, almost like you're the Cubs and the Sox, of like a crosstown rivals thing of your local city or town or park district, wherever you play in. This movie captures the beauty of that. Of you've been playing this for years, you know these guys on the other team, on your team. You talk to each other about what your plans are for the fall, for the next summer. How are the kids doing? How's this going? But in even the spectators, they're what's his name? The guy that keeps track of the game the entire time, Cliff Bake's character. Or is Cliff Bake his actual name in the movie?
I forget it too, but
but his whole thing, because unfortunately the one thing I'm gonna have to rewatch this movie at some point, or at least buy, and I'll bring this up at the end of the review, buy the limited edition for a specific reason. I couldn't even remember a lot of the characters' names because there were so many of them and everything.
No, it's true. It is hard to keep track.
Yeah, it's but they all have a distinct personality that, like, when someone was talking, I know who they were and everything. But even the people outside the stadium, like, we have a food truck that comes to our local thing that, like, comes by around the end of the first set of games and will stay there for the second and to the very last game, because there's always, in my neighborhood, for our local recreation leagues, it starts out with 4 games, then it goes down to 3, then it goes down to 1 at night. So it's like people sometimes from those first games just linger around, drink beer, and then they go to like the food truck and just watch the other games. But there's people who just are either fans of actual local, like, just watching them like he was, and just like loves just watching baseball and just keeps score and everything just for the hell of it. Like, you get a lot of senior citizens in my city that do that, as well as other leagues that I participated in. Like, I used to work at the Wheaton Park District, and I was part of the team that us as a park district put on. And we had people like that just show up to the fields just for the hell of it from time to time, just because like they were
How
like,
old
oh,
were they?
like,
What was the average age of those people?
it was always seniors. So like it being a senior here, it just made so much sense and everything. Now they didn't go as far as having like their niece or like their daughters do the 7th inning stretch and everything, because like I've never seen a league actually play all 9 innings. It usually is a slaughter rule, or you only play up to like 7 and then that's it. So for them to keep going out the whole thing for all 9. I thought that was funny, especially with how long it takes too, because my league being a softball league, you start with a 1-1 count, but also you have to pitch within a certain amount of time. And there does come a point where it's like, if you hit a certain amount of like home runs, then like they'll start counting as outs, so that way you just like, it just moves the game quicker and everything. Yeah. So it made sense why this like, was going on throughout the whole day, because like I was telling my friends about this movie, because I was like, guys, we have to watch this sometime, like, as a group once the season's over. I think this will be a fun viewing experience. But yeah, the accuracy is 100% here. My favorite little detail throughout the movie is, as characters are having conversations, like the ones we're supposed to be focusing on, you hear everybody else either in the field, in the dugout, making snide-ass comments to one another, or having a whole different conversation about what's happening and everything. And kudos to the movie for somehow being able to balance all that chaos of other dialogue happening, but you're able to keep track of what's happening in the primary conversation and laugh at what's happening in the dugout and what's being said over there. That's a very, very tough thing to do editing-wise, and just sound levels and everything, but also timing on the actors saying those lines and everything, and just knowing when to come in, whether in the background, they're not even on screen at all, whatever it may be. They perfectly do it, because, I mean, there's so many times, too, I'll have a meeting at the mound with somebody, like, I'll be catcher or shortstop, and I'm the team captain, and as I'm having that shortstop, or that meeting on the mound, the guys in outfield are just shooting the shit now, and, like, they're just talking about the latest superhero movie that came out. The guy at first base is talking to the guy on first base, that's the runner, about the recent Bears game and everything. It's just, like, we hear all of this going on as we're trying to, like, play it, but it's just, like, it's, we're staying focused and everything to keep the game going, because we love playing, but also we love this sense of community. I'm going to tell you guys right now, this movie is like Whiplash for me, where it's like, to me, it's probably going to be one of my favorite movies of all time. Because there's so much about it that is so personal to me and spoke to me, that it's like, there's movies that are made for general audiences, there's movies that are made for a specific audiences, and then sometimes there's just movies that you feel like are made directly for you, that they feel like, it's like, this is something that you can relate to on a whole different level than some other people can. And I'm not trying to say, like, oh, I play sports and everything. No, it's just, like, literally, like, it's the fact that it's baseball. I know mine's softball, but it's, relatively the same thing, but it's an adult recreation league. People drink beer, people swear, people talk shit to one another every once in a while, especially men's leagues. Like, I'm in a co-ed one right now, but when I used to be part of men's leagues, oh my god, dude, the shit talking was insane.
Apropos of nothing, I feel like the movie that's made specifically for me is Shin Godzilla, because every time I bring up Godzilla, no one brings up Shin Godzilla.
Yeah,
it's always like
-1
crazy out there Godzilla, or like Mecha Godzilla, which is all well and fine. But anyway, sorry. The point about like movies are made specifically for you. Yeah, this will not have wide appeal, but I'm not even in this world. I don't even like I said, I don't identify with baseball all that much. This feels like it's gonna be the quintessential baseball movie. It's like the adult Sandlot, but less quirky. It's like, hey, what if they all grew up? Right?
That was gonna be my Letterboxd review. Like, I literally was gonna be like, imagine if the Sandlot kids all grew beer bellies and didn't leave town. Like, and it's just like, that was gonna be mine. I haven't posted it yet or anything, because I want to add on more to it because of how much more I do love this movie. But the other thing I wanted to bring up was, and I swear to God, I'll pass it off to you guys. Sorry, I'm gushing over this movie because I really do
No, that's
love it.
awesome.
Is also, yeah, the inevitability that this is coming to an end. And for me, whenever I've played a season, we've always felt this way. But we know it's coming back next year. However, I do love the attention that as the days going on, you kind of feel it with everybody that like they know this is the last game and they want to put on such a damn good show and everything, but they are a little like, it does suck that like this is it, this is the end and everything and whatnot. Like, you know, and they're doing their best. I almost feel like they purposely made the game go as long as it did, just because they wanted to enjoy it, even though the ump leaves like like before.
The subconscious, the collective subconsciousness was like, yeah, no, where's this one's gonna go.
Yeah, it's like I almost wondered if like they ever actually had a seventh inning stretch where they do like, you know, take me out to the ball game. I was wondering like, did they always do that, or did they only do it for this one specific instance just so they could be on Soldiers Field that much longer and everything? Which is a real field, by the way. I looked it up, and like I almost want to go there and just take a photo of it.
Still there.
It's still there. Yeah, and it's operated. It's operated too. People still play on it as well. But yeah, man, I love it. I love that it's a '90s film without having to shove down the '90s down your throat.
Wait. The local like baseball teams who don't give a fuck about any, they're the guys in the film. They're like, the fuck are all these like Reddit like film nerds stopping by the field?
They're gonna see me out there with the Blu-ray of this, like taking a photo outside. Like, the fuck is this guy doing?
And you know, there were people
off our field.
And you know, there were people like that play on that field that were like, oh, we can't play today because those jag-off filmmakers are over there. You know, like, I very well said, though. I knew you were going to have a little bit of, or you were going to have some empathy here with this movie, even though significantly younger than the characters in this movie, though. Just the experiences you've had, Joe. It's funny you bring up Shin Godzilla too, because Joe, when you were talking about like how this movie has this really tricky balancing act of like a lot of the timing and the blocking and the stray conversations. I was thinking about Shin Godzilla, how it does that with sort of like the.
That's a good comparison.
Over-
Wow,
really?
yeah.
Well, I really was, seriously. Yeah,
Okay.
because of all the information Shin Godzilla feeds you on screen and in dialogue, but it's still communicable. It's so well presented.
And
So
to do
I
that for a foreign
truly
film
was.
where like stuff is coming up in a different language and they have to subtitle that information on screen while also subtitling what's being said, like it's pretty good.
That's awesome.
No, it adds up. And to your earlier point, Dom, about like just baseball in general too, that the line for you, I think, in this movie was it's kind of like baseball. I'm looking around for something to happen, and poof, game's over. You know, because I said there's so many great quotes in this thing. Like
There
this,
really are.
this, like I would love to read the screenplay of this. I mean, first off, the stage direction has to be maddening. Like, you know, of just all the different like, you know, you're essentially controlling chess pieces on this thing. Even though the game is of little real importance, it's the human drama, but just sort of the movements and the hitting and the throwing and the catching and the pitching.
It would drive me mad. You know, like the one character, he's like an Italian guy where he's like, "Dude, this is stupid. My kids were expecting me like an hour ago," and then he just leaves. He just leaves in the middle of the game, and it's like, see, he's made to kind of be like the bad guy. There's no real antagonist in this movie,
No.
but he's kind of made to be the jerk. That would be me. Let me be honest. That would be a lot of people. A lot of people would be identifying with that. And but you know what? That says something so much about the, you know, time, aging, and like what's that saying? It's like you don't know what the good times are until they're gone. Or
Yeah.
by the time they happen. It's like I imagine that maybe he has every right to be upset, because I do identify with that. It's like, no, I have a job, and you know, even though I don't have a family, you know, it's like I got to take care of them and stuff. I got responsibilities. You know, there's these daily chores, all these things I got to do, all these bills I have to pay. Oh, I got to pay the mortgage and all that stuff. I got to do that over. It's the '90s. This movie is set in the '90s. It's like, so you got to do that by check and everything, right? All these things, and then, but like 25 years later, I wonder if that character is going to look back on it and be like, I shouldn't have left. I should not have left. And that says something so much about all these small moments that we gloss over. And even then, that's a game, so at least there's something. But all these you know moments that that happen, that cultural traditions even, right? This whole movie could even be like, hey, here's the annual like family Christmas get together before we all break, or like, before we all break off and do our own actual, Christmas celebrations or
Yeah.
whatever, right? It's like, it's one of those things. This is kind of like a family tradition kind of movie.
It reminds me a lot. I know I'm the only one that has read this, but I highly recommend if you guys. It's a novella. It's become one of my favorite works of fiction. I read it last year. It's called Last Night at the Lobster by Stuart O'Nan.
I've been trying to find this book at every bookstore I go to, and it's always gone.
Last Night at the Lobster, it's a novella, and it follows basically, it's set pretty much in real time, and it's follows the crew at this. It's in New England too, something about New England. The crew of a Red Lobster, and it's the last day the Red Lobster is open, and they're going to close permanently. And there's a blizzard going on outside too. So there's like this push pull of, do we close the restaurant early? Do we not? It's the last day. Certain things become more pronounced. A lot of people don't show up because some people are being retained to, I think, go work at Applebee's or something like that, another Darden restaurant. But some people are being retained, some people aren't. So there's people that don't show up. The manager of the Red Lobster is engaged to another woman, but he had a fling with a waitress a couple of years ago who he still has feelings for. It's an amazing book. And there's like an underlying sadness to everything in the book, because even like the common annoyances, because the staff starts to realize it's the last of everything. Customer collects these glasses and wants the glasses, and then the manager's like, well, she can't have the glass unless she buys the drink, and the waitress is like, Manny, fucking seriously, of all days. Like, it's reminded me a lot of that, because when you're aware of the finality of something, everything becomes more pronounced, everything becomes more meaningful.
This reminded me so much of the last day of school, at like your big moment of like last day of school. So going your last day of elementary, your last day of middle, and then especially your last day senior year of high school. And just realizing I might not see some of these people ever again. Right. I might not see these teachers ever again who probably help, formulate who you are today. I know, like, yeah, your parents do, and of course everything, but you also learn a lot from your teachers. We always have a teacher that we latch onto in high school. And even college, you can say as well, like your senior day, like, before going on into adulthood. Especially with our college, having the whole senior campus week where it's like, it's just seniors left on the campus. And even like our radio, we can even throw WNC in this, where it's like your last shift, like, and just realizing like what you were part of and everything. Like, I didn't tear up during this movie, but like throughout the whole time watching it, I couldn't help but think of moments like that, and just feeling it in my heart. Like, this movie's perfectly capturing that, where you're going about the day, you're keeping the day moving along, you're keeping business as usual, but this is it. I have to say goodbye at the end of this and move on to something else, or move on with my life. And I just thought, like as Dom was saying with his opening thing, this movie is beautiful at conveying that without actually having to say that. You're feeling that with every character and what they're saying, even if they're talking shit to one another. But you're feeling that throughout the whole movie, and especially towards the end. That final walk as they all start leaving and pulling their cars out and people are just walking away. Oh, dude, like I was just like, fuck, like one of the best endings I can even think of for something like this, honestly.
Dude, I actually did start. I didn't like full on cry, but I did start tearing. Like my eyes got watery.
Yeah.
Iconic final shot of the scorekeeper overlooking the box up above.
Yep.
It's behind, silhouetted with all the cars slowly moving away and all that stuff. And he's doing that quote. Which quote? What quote is that from? That he's it's like today. And he's like imitating a loudspeaker.
He does it at the beginning of the movie too.
Yeah, he does it. Yeah, he does. He bookends the start and the beginning and the end. I don't watch a lot of sports movies, so I feel like it sounded like it's a famous sports movie, but just him doing that kind of to himself, right? That's so beautiful, right? He's saying it to himself for this insignificant thing. Really, I cannot emphasize scenes like this whole movie unfold like pretty much every week around the world. It's like a slice of life, right?
Yeah.
And it really is not too far removed from a pretentious, European art film where some douchebag films a black and white thing of someone, sitting on a park bench for 5 hours, Andy Warhol style. You know what I'm saying? It
Yeah.
really
Sits on the
isn't
park
all that
bench for
far
5 hours and then die.
Yeah, exactly. Finn, right? And but it's the same. And look, don't get me wrong. I do know there's a difference, but it's kind of the same message, right? This is a
Yeah.
slice of life movie, and the capturing the essence of that in a really entertaining, engaging way where you do care about, and it's like we don't need any flashy like, and here's Dale, and he used to play for this and all that. No. Just everyone shows up one by one, almost the same way if you're a new person at work at a new job and you don't know everyone and you're quiet and you just watch people come in, how they interact with others. It's like, oh, I clock this person as this kind of guy, I clock this person for this kind of person. It's puts you right into the middle of it at the end of it, and that's awesome. That's smart filmmaking.
Lund's camera and Greg Tango's cinematography does a lot of great work from a distance. There's a lot of longer distance shots and long shots that establish the field and sort of look at the teams as a collective, and it really aids it. You start to notice it as this movie, because this movie's not long; it's about 100 minutes. You notice it as like the day goes on and the sun's in different positions, and then it starts getting dark, and then they need the headlights, and then they need to bring the cars on the field to illuminate the field. Like, this movie has a really
I've done that for our
beautifully
practices. I'm like, fuck
Have you
it, everybody
really?
turn on your lights. We're not leaving this until somebody hits a fucking outfield hit.
It's so beautiful the way that the setting is captured and everything like that too. Um, and again, before we cut to break here, Zoom sponsored intermission, a couple more quotes that stuck out with me, since I did promise I would do a couple of the quotes from the movie I would recite. The one is two different characters. The one guy goes, "Field's talking, doesn't want to leave. Field's staying. They're just gonna put a bunch of bricks on it." Yeah. And there's the other one I like at the end when there's some players that really start getting pissy, because then like the pitcher starts stalling,
Yeah.
to like elongate the innings and stuff. He's like, "I shouldn't be here. No one should. It's dark and it's late. We have a serious problem. No one can see." The other line that I laughed my ass off on was when the one character's wife shows up, and he goes, "Linda, I told you I was playing the game today." And then you hear the one guy at the end, I think it's like the third baseman, "I just realized that guy's wife's name is Linda Belinda."
The christening pickup was like one of my favorites when his family like rolls up and they're just having this shouting match the entire
Look
time.
at you. I like when they peel off and he's like, "Look at you, you're a grown man playing a fucking kid's game." Like, there's so many great lines in this thing, though. It's rife with one-liners. We've got more to talk about. The movie's called EFIS. It's available on premium video on demand outlets. You can rent it now, as I highly suggest that you should. And I think these gentlemen are in agreement. We'll be back here in just a couple of minutes after our Zoom-sponsored intermission. This is Sleepless with Steve, live on YouTube. Absolutely does. You need flood insurance downtown. But we'll talk Joker, Folly You Do. Now, I think the first thing people need to realize with this movie, right out of the gate, Joker was never intended to have a sequel, which is very rare for quote unquote comic book movies. I have a hard time calling this a comic book movie, but I guess by definition it technically is, even though it's really just a sort of a reimagined take on the Joker character. And Joker from 2019 with Joaquin Phoenix was never intended to have a sequel. It was always going to be standalone. But there was a combination of factors. There was the fact that it made over $1 billion. I think it is among Deadpool versus Wolverine probably made more, but it's got to be in the top 5 for highest grossing R-rated movies.
Oh yeah.
It has to be. And it was always going to be a success, but I don't think people really predicted it to be as big as it was going to be. It was a cultural moment for quite a while. But the other factor that wound up resulting in getting a sequel too, honestly, from what I read, was Joaquin Phoenix. Joaquin Phoenix was determined to visit the Arthur Fleck character again, like imploring Todd Phillips to try to conjure up another story because of the possibilities that would exist with the Joker character in their mind. Now, what we got here, I think, is sort of a compilation reel of all of those ideas. All those ideas that Phillips, Phoenix, and others probably brainstormed is kind of what we got here. I'll just start by saying this, and I'll toss it over to you, Joe. I saw your hand up. I'll start off by this. This movie is a musical, and it shouldn't be a surprise. They were not hiding this fact from the moment this thing went into production. And I'm not ready to go into like my thoughts on the musical aspects and the musical numbers yet, but what I'll just say is that it's very strange in a way to watch a sequel that is completely divorced from its predecessor insofar as that it takes an enormously different route than its predecessor. And it's not the kind of route that these movies are known for. And it's not the kind of route that you see typically because you have this mix of like gritty realism and musical numbers. And I'm not saying it doesn't work. I'm not saying it really works. It's odd. You want to talk about folie à deux, which means madness for two? Gritty realism and musical numbers merged together. It's very strange. It's one of the more damning mainstream releases of the year. It's going to be an interesting discussion. What say you, Joe?
I just wanted to say, to answer kind of what you were wondering about, Deadpool and Wolverine did overtake it by 300 million. Joker sits at number 2. Oppenheimer's 3, if you're curious. And then the next 2 Deadpool movies are 4 and 5. So those are the top 5 highest grossing R-rated films.
I totally forgot Oppie would be in there too.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
You only think of it as a rated R movie, honestly.
No, you don't. And the other thing too is I guess I don't write the movie off. I mean, it's excellent. I don't write it off, but like I just am not used to movies of that length making that money. That's
True.
a rarity in itself. That has to be the longest, highest grossing R-rated movie by far. Anyway,
we'll go into a whole separate category with that. Look, there's a lot to talk about with this movie, so I'm gonna get straight to it. If you were to tell me, out of all the movies that were coming out this year, that the one I was looking forward to talking most on Sleepless with Steve was Joker Folie à Deux, I would be like, get the hell out of here. Ain't no way. It wasn't until I left the theater I was like, dude, I actually cannot wait for Wednesday because I want to go to sleep. I want to write down my thoughts on this film. And I can't wait to talk about it with the guys to see if they felt similar to the way I did and everything. This is a sequel, like Steve said, that is totally devoid of anything people really loved about that first one. And mainly the comic book fans who really thought it was a great, great adaptation of the Joker character and, did something really unique with an origin story for him and everything. No, this is way out there in terms of, like, a sequel following that up, which is probably why it's gotten the very big backlash it's had from general audiences. For me, I like the first Joker film. I'm not crazy about it. I thought it was good. I thought it had amazing cinematography and a fantastic performance from Joaquin Phoenix. Other than that, I thought everything was kind of just good, not like amazing compared to the other 2 factors, which I thought were
back and better than ever from our Zoom-sponsored intermission. It's Sleepless with Steve live on YouTube. We're talking about Ephus. Brand new movie, dramedy, now streaming, now available rather to rent on different premium video on demand outlets and stuff like that. Making the rounds talking about this movie though is there's just so much there's so much in this like pristinely made little movie too. I think. Yeah, and what's funny? Like I just said before, I'm not a big baseball fan. Ironically, I've been to more minor league baseball games than any other sporting event. I probably in my life have went to over 100 minor league games. Because I grew up, my dad and my mother and I, mainly my dad and I, we used to go to the Kane County Cougars games. We probably there was a time we would probably go to like 15 a year. And those are some of my earliest sports memories were at those games too. And like at the time, I really didn't have any interest in the game. I really loved going with my dad and my dad's friends because it was a good excuse to enjoy the nice weather. I could eat Dippin' Dots. And it was funny too, like, because my dad would drink at the games, obviously, and stuff. I got to know all the beer vendors when I was like a kid. I got to know like all the beer vendors and shit. So I'd be like 10 years old. Like my dad would let me walk around by myself and stuff because I knew where I was going, and I knew I knew a lot of. We knew the GM, we knew the marketing director and stuff at the time. So I knew all these people. But I was walking. I'd be like 10, 11 years old. And I'm walking by. I walk by the beer vendors, and I'm like, hey, Rick and Lisa, and like the people in line are looking like, how does this 10-year-old know the beer vendors? You know what I mean? Like and shit like that. I got to actually be friends with this one beer vendor too. He was an author and an English teacher over at Bennett. So like it was so there was a lot of different it brought me back to that. And again, I wasn't much interested in the game, but there's a reason baseball is known as America's pastime.
Yeah.
That's what it does. It passes the time. And I think the other point of this movie too is that it also looks, it's the second movie this year, the second movie to really bring male friendships and male relationships into the forefront, and kind of look at it from like a weird sociological perspective too, because this movie examines kind of like the built-in fragility of some male friendships, especially older men. It carries this timeless quality, and like this idea, there's a sociological term called the third place in American society in particular, where most people have two immediate places that they find themselves. You're either at home or at work. The third place is the location that fosters like human connection, like churches, libraries, gyms, bars, parks. The older you get, the more you realize like how alcohol too is practically a built-in function at most third places. And the thing is with this movie is that like there's a great moment at the end. I don't know who says it, but there's a great moment at the end when they're packing up, the game's over. And the one guy tells the other, he goes, you got everybody's phone numbers. We should all get together and like go out and like have some beers or something. And he just goes, yeah, maybe. That'll never happen.
Yeah.
That'll never happen. And there's no real reason why it couldn't. But it's just like, this was their bonding experience, and now it's gone. And there's a good chance a lot of them don't see each other anymore. And there's a built-in sadness there.
And specifically with it being set during like the 90s and everything, before we had Facebook or any of these social media apps. Yeah, no, they definitely probably never saw each other again, because like those apps have really made it easier to connect with people and stay in touch with people, of course, just because like you can instantly message them. But it's also allowed, like, at least for my dad, like I can only speak for him. His high school, like, they never did a reunion because they never knew how to stay in contact with each other or anything, or never had to. But because of Facebook, they ended up doing a 40-year like reunion or something, 30-year reunion since they graduated high school, whatever the hell it was, like years later, and they did it at the high school and everything too, because they were able to like be like, oh wait, we have all these people added, just invite them to the page and we'll like get everything organized. So with this being set in the 90s, yeah, man, it kind of leaves you with that whole thing of, that's it, man. Like, maybe two of these guys will see each other and hang out still, but like, Adler's Paint and River Dogs, like, as one big community, they ain't ever gonna be seen together in the same room again.
No.
And that is history. It's local history, and it's history that only applies to maybe 50 people at most. But that was history.
It was history, yeah.
That was stuff that you could probably, whoever's listening to this, watching this, or us, right? You could go out to any local town, especially here in DuPage, right? Or anywhere in America, any town. You could probably find something like that, right? Replace it with, I don't know, a pottery hangout that people have been meeting for like 50 years to do something like that, or whatever. Small, it's local, it's a chapter in people's lives that mattered to people, and you'll never know about it.
Hell, right? Like even like AA or something.
Yeah.
Lions
Club, women's club of like, a city, like, like those type of things. Like, yeah, they'll never be written in history books, but in those towns, it'll be considered history for them.
For sure. And I think this movie really gets to that. Like, really gets that. And and that's why I was like shocked that like Carson Lund, at least I couldn't find, has a real connection to baseball. I thought for sure he played. I thought for sure he was like a minor league guy. That like he must have watched this or like lived on the periphery. I haven't watched any interviews with him guiltily, but he must have had it on the periphery or something, or like some sort of experience, because it's not only just how well he captures this, it's that he gets it. And this movie also strikes this like beautifully complex tone of like being a true dramedy. Like there's a lot of dry comedy in this thing. There's a lot of dialogue driven humor, but it nails the poignant moments in this thing. It doesn't have to spell them out either. You can just kind of look at like the
Yeah.
withered faces of the men playing, and sort of like how their tone starts to get a little bit more sullen at the end and things like that. Like
Like,
I
like,
loved it.
like a dude, he like, hey, I brought fireworks at like the midpoint or whatever,
Yeah.
and then he fires them off at the end, and you just sit there watching them. Like
Well,
you
look at the fireworks,
anticipated
yeah.
that maybe it's like, oh, it's gonna be everyone's gonna be drunk, it's gonna be fun, and they blast them off. No, everyone's just sitting there quietly, and it's a still shot of just a beautiful shot where
Yeah.
it's dark, and then the night gets lit up by these fireworks, and
Yeah.
they're just going off systematically, and no one's saying shit. And it's like it's like a 21 gun salute, right?
It's a funeral.
Yeah.
Like, it's a real funeral. And I just think that this, like, we talk about tone a lot of movies and stuff like that, and direction and intention and things, and that's why, like, it shocked me too that like this was made by a rookie filmmaker in Lund, like, because this movie is hard. Like, it is a simple movie at its core, but it is hard. Joe talked about it really in your kind of like opening monologue and stuff. This is a hard movie to make
Oh, yeah.
because of the fact that, like, and to make well, because of the fact, like, it's a sports movie, but it's not about the game. It doesn't really matter what's going on. It's all the crosstalk, and it's all the blocking, and it's all the stray conversations, and it kind of has to get threaded.
Yeah.
And even too, I think it doesn't do it a whole lot. It's more in the beginning, but when it lingers on the people that just so happen to be at the park, it's very perceptive too. I think I sent you guys the clip before when I watched it. The clip of when the two kids are watching him, and the one kid goes, "That guy right there, he's the best player on the team." And then he swings and he spins himself, and then he falls, and he goes, "No, no, he's not. This is the worst day of his life."
And then immediately after, he's like, the longer I keep watching this, the more I don't understand baseball.
like, like that's the beauty of the movie too, is even when it gets kind of like off kilter in a way too.
Yeah.
It's fun. I also have a new saying, just to go with one more quote. I have a new saying now when my back flares up. I say I could cook a rack of ribs on these fuckers.
Yeah.
It's worth it though. Every pin and needle.
Oh, man.
Yeah. If we want to go into closing thoughts, I'm all for it. If you guys had anything more to add, though, yeah,
I really don't. I
we
mean, as much as I do love this movie, like, it is a movie where it's like, it's kind of like a short and sweet what I have to say about it, because the movie is basically kind of short and sweet with a lot there to digest, of course, but, like, it isn't really expanding much past, it is just the last day these guys play a game on the field and everything.
Yeah, and I'll say one other quick point too. I don't think we actually contextualize the title for those who don't know.
Oh, yeah, go ahead, yeah.
EFIS, and I'm not, don't claim to be an expert. I had to look it up, quite honestly. But an EFIS pitch is what it's named after. It's a rare pitch. You might see it twice in a season in MLB, and each team plays 162 games, which I still, whenever I say out loud, is just such a fucking mind-boggling figure to me, that a baseball season's 162 games plus playoffs. It feels like when baseball ends, it starts up again in 3 months.
Yeah.
Like it's really because it ends in like what, October-ish, like late October.
Usually when the
right
World
by-
Series goes on, yeah.
Yeah, and then they're back, and then spring training they go to Arizona in like February. You know what I mean? Like once it's gone, once it ends, it basically starts up again. There's not really that long of an off season, but you might see it twice in a season, an EFIS pitch. What it is though, it's a how I understand is it's a high arching, low velocity pitch. So it's a rare pitch. It's a slow ball. And it's probably, I would think, like what, 70 miles an hour maybe. I mean, now pitchers are throwing 100 miles an hour, 95 miles an hour routinely. It's probably about a 65, 70 mile per hour ball, if that. And essentially, its purpose is really, it's like a trick pitch. Its purpose is to kind of throw off a batter's sense of rhythm and time. I think it was actually used in the playoffs last year. I think I was reading by the Reds, not the Red Sox, who the hell was it? that used it the last. There was a team though. I think it was the Rangers actually that used it in 2 playoffs ago, technically. But yeah, so that's where the title comes from. Joe, if you want to give closing thoughts though, then Dom, and then I'll wrap it up.
Yeah. Ephes to me, it's it's a movie I can't recommend to everyone. I don't even know if I can recommend it to 10 people. I don't fucking know. But for me, it's a movie that very much speaks to me and everything that I love associated with not only just the baseball, like, the love of the game and everything, and recreation sports and everything, but it also speaks to me on the importance of, and learning about this now thanks to Steve during this review, these third place, like, locations and everything, and the importance of that, and building the sense of community, and like having that, because it is almost like a necessity of, like, I consider this a third place, our review show. Honestly, it is something I look forward to. Once a week we meet up and everything. I put on a whole different like mood when I get on here, because I'm happier when I get on here. It's something I look forward to. I get to talk to people and everything. It's so many other things. Even when we were on the radio days, it was the same thing there too. It's like, this is my third place. WONC. Go in the basement, take a nap on the couch. I don't know. But yeah, it's a movie that speaks to me, but I still think it is worth viewing if you love filmmaking, if you've been listening to this review at all and you thought, what, this is interesting me in some sort of way, because I do think the filmmaking here, you're working with a baseball field, you have to work with just natural lighting as well, with a lot of day and night stuff, and just like, as Dom was saying, like the whole fireworks like lighting up, and a bunch of like, this is like one of my favorite things too. It reminds me so much of like movies like No Man Land, where we get actors who just feel like real people. Like, all these people feel like real people from a town that just play sports like this and just meet up, drink beer, and have fun. None of them really felt like actors and everything. So it's just great filmmaking at the end of the day too, because of just everything I was just talking about, honestly. If you are going to watch this movie, definitely do it through musicboxfilms.com. Shout out to the Music Box Theater of Chicago and all its other locations as well. And if you end up loving this movie, I want to give a shout out to this, because I'm definitely going to pre-order this or pick it up as soon as possible. They are doing a limited edition of this movie in Blu-ray, where it comes with baseball cards of the entire cast. And I think that's so sick. And they all have stats and everything too. If you don't get the limited edition, there will be plenty of Blu-ray still, and there's tons of bonus features on the Blu-ray. And we don't get too many bonus features nowadays. There's bonus features of course, just extra deleted scenes, blooper reel, but there's a cast commentary with the lineup. There's a cast commentary of just people on Alder's Paint, and there's a cast commentary of people just on River Dogs, as well as just a whole separate one of just the director, co-writer, producer, and director of photography. Just like Easter eggs, like this thing is loaded with special features. So I'm definitely like, it's something I'm gonna like throw on in the background one day. Like, that's usually what I do with director's commentaries and stuff like that. I just listen to them in the background while I'm playing a game or like typing up something, whatever, paying bills, stuff like that. Ephes is definitely one of those. Yeah,
you may very well be one of only hundreds that will listen to that.
I'm gonna be like that old man out in the field, bro. I'm gonna be that scorekeeper.
send me a link, or drop a link in our chat.
I'll do it right now. Because I literally just shared the page on screen with people. I'll send it right now. But for me, before I start doing this and get caught up in it, for me, it is easily a 4 stars. This will definitely be showing up on my top 5 by the end of the year. It is not a perfect film by no means. It's not even like something, like I said, I can recommend to everyone. But for me especially, this is 4 stars. And I think it's such a rare example of just the beauty of filmmaking and how it can speak to someone.
Yeah, for me, Joe, I was gonna relate it to our weekly thing here as well.
Yeah.
Because the truth of it is, if we really wanted Sleepless with Steve to take off, we would the 3 of us combined efforts very well could invest more time, more capital, more energy, more annoying networking to make this something. Sleepless with Steve. We really could. But I think, and I'm very happy about this, I very much find joy in this really just being a hangout that someone could just click on the link on or stumble upon it on their YouTube algorithm. And I enjoy that. I enjoy that, and I almost don't want to mess with it. That doesn't mean we shouldn't, but I enjoy what this is now. I really do. It and like the movie, this is whenever I do tell someone like what this show is, what I do on Wednesday nights, right? It's like, yeah, it's really more for us.
Yeah.
It really is more than
Th-
for
There's been
any
so
sense
many
of
coworkers I've had to tell that to. They're like,
yeah.
"Oh, so you review movies and everything?" I'm like, I'm telling you right now, I'm like, we do, and you can totally watch it and everything. I'm like, but it's just a weekly thing I look forward to, and it just helps me keep up with movies and talk about them with people.
Yeah. And as long as we still have free Zoom access, then our baseball field shall never be bulldozed. Really, a genius point of writing is that there's no villain here, right? It's not like, oh, this is land development for a Walmart. No, it's a
Yeah.
school. You're
It's a
gonna
school.
complain that they're building a school?
Yeah, there's no Save the Rec Center in this shit. Like, they're
Yeah,
just
thank you. Yeah, I'm so happy that that was not the point of this movie. It really is focused on this sense of not even it is small town America, no doubt, but it can be anything. And it's that universal message that as someone who truly does not care about baseball, I'm sorry, I just don't. I identified with it so much, so hard that it made me emotional at the end. And that's why I also give this a 4 out of 4 stars for me. I don't even think I give it as hard of a 4 out of 4 stars as Joe. But it's like an easy 4 out of 4 stars. It's like, yeah,
nice.
that's what it is. That's what this is for me.
I gave it 3.5. I think about bumping it to 4, but not until after a rewatch. No, I love this movie. I think it and definitely in my top 5 for the year. I think it's really I think it's really slowly finding an audience too. I found out about it honestly on Letterboxd. One film critic who's quickly become one of my favorite film critics is his name is Brett Arnold. He's a great follow on Letterboxd. He does a podcast called Roger and Me in reference to the Michael Moore documentary and Roger Ebert. And he's a really good film critic. I don't listen to his podcast much. I read his writings more. But I think he's quickly become one of my favorite film critics, and he's got Ebert's kind of wit to him too. Like he said, like when he did a review of the bike riders, he called it the Chicago Accent Olympics, and he definitely has a little bit of that. But that's how I found out about it too, was through him watching it and stuff and saying like, this is probably my favorite movie of the year nobody's seen. And I'm like, well, I'm going to change that. And then I loved it so much. I'm like, this would be a great summer watch on Sleepless, especially my way of spitting water of not reviewing Superman either. I think it's a great film. I can't wait to check out that limited edition too, because that sounds great.
Yeah.
That sounds like the kind of release that big movies don't even get that kind of a package.
No. Like, that's so cool. They made baseball cards for this movie and everything of like all the cast and characters. And then like, even if you can't get that edition, the fact that just the normal Blu-ray comes with all these cool special features that you can see is like very rare nowadays. It's movies. It's the reason why I also love doing this show, and I consider it like that whole third place and everything. Would have never discovered this movie without this show. Would have never came across it. I probably would have gotten a text from Steve. Yeah. I don't even know if I would have met Steve if we didn't do the show either. But I would have gotten a text from somebody like, "You should check out this movie." I'd be like, "Fuck off!" But like, I'm just not gonna do it.
No, I love it, and I love the words of what this show means to you guys too. I think that Ephus with Steve,
shut up.
That was beautiful. That was beautiful, man. Sleepless with Steve.
Oh my god,
very fun show. I'm glad we watched this movie, and I'm glad you guys enjoyed it too. I think there's a lot of value in this thing too, and I do think it'll come back around at the end of the year. We'll talk about it some more as well when we formulate a very particular list at the end of the year. Another great show in the books. Next week is Ari Aster's Eddington. So we're really looking forward to that one too. This is like, really now you're in the next, we're less than a month. We're a couple of days away from Eddington. We're less than a month away from Weapons. Like we're really getting a couple of seriously big heavy hitters now in the next couple of weeks that are like, they might not be the most anticipated movies amongst the masses, but they're some of the most anticipated for us. So I really have a lot of excitement for both of those movies, and one of which is next week in Eddington. So that's what we will tackle next week. Thanks for making the time to watch Ephus, guys. You can find that movie again. It's streaming on Fandango at home, Amazon Prime, YouTube, the actual app you can rent it off of too. It is a rental. I'm hoping it finds itself. I don't know where it would go, but because now all these streaming services are studio-owned things. I hope it finds itself on something.
It will be eventually
accessible.
available on musicboxfilms.com, and you could just stream it through there for like $5 or something. That's usually typically what happens with a lot of music box film productions, is that they don't usually end up on a Netflix or Apple Films or whatever, but they do have a server capacity where they can stream these movies to you directly by purchasing them.
That's really nice.
Yeah,
that's really nice. So that's cool that they have that infrastructure. Definitely check out EFIS though. Next week is Ari Aster's Eddington. I'm looking forward to talking about it in our third place that we have conceived, Sleepless with Steve. Until then, for Joe Viso, Dominic Guanzon, and yours truly, this has been Sleepless with Steve.